Wow, they actually did it. This is the 2022 Honda Civic Si, and it's so good. If you've been looking for a fun commuter with a 6-speed manual transmission that gets excellent gas mileage, that is comfortable, practical, everything that you could want out of a Honda that has a great old school Honda feeling, this thing is gonna blow your mind. Sure, it doesn't have heated seats, it doesn't have adaptive dampers, it doesn't have ventilated seats, doesn't even have the red cloth upholstery in the back. But if you can forego some of those things, and sure, it only makes 200 horsepower. If you can forego some of those things, this is gonna be such a crowd pleaser. Like, you're gonna love driving this every single day. And by the way, I think those power ratings are underrated. I think that it makes way more than that. But as someone who's loved Hondas and Acuras, I've owned several of them, including a 2000 Honda Civic Si, an EM1, and an Electron Blue Pearl one. This holds the legacy of Honda and its Si brand very well. And it's something that Honda should be proud of, and it's something that we as buyers should be very much looking at. Yes, the Type R is awesome, and I can't wait to drive one. But for the time being, if that's out of your budget, or you just want something that's maybe not as spicy, this little firecracker is just gonna have you breathing smoke all day long. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna switch this thing into sport mode. It tightens up the steering a little bit, tightens up the throttle response. I will say the steering is like super duper heavy, way heavier than I expected. Oh, that sound. I know it's probably fake, but I'm okay with that because it's just fun. It's just a lot of fun. All right, so while I'm sitting here at the stoplight, I have a lot of thoughts about this car, and pretty much all of them are very positive. And this car has gotten kind of, at least from what I can tell, a lot of people kind of complaining online that it should be more powerful, it shouldn't be so expensive. I mean, I don't think it's that expensive, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but it should be this, it should be that, all-wheel drive, whatever, especially in the Civic Type R's coming out. And I gotta say, this is so much fun. I mean, okay, so let me do a little comparison that's maybe a little unexpected. A few weeks ago, I had the 2022 Toyota GR86. And just as recently as about a year ago, I owned a 2020 Subaru BRZ. And here we go. That is so stupid fun. It's awesome. Anyway, okay, so I'll get back to my impressions in just a second. But so having been a big fan of like the GR86 and the BRZ, which I think are both fantastic buys, the first gen and the new gen. Oh, this rides so much better, by the way, than the new GR86. I know people are like, let's get adaptive dampers, and that would be amazing, right? But honestly, I think that this has felt pretty good. It is a little bit stiffer than maybe you're expecting, but we're on a very bumpy road right now, and we're doing okay. So, downshift, the auto rev matching. Oh, yeah. I'm only going 35, guys, and it's just so much fun. I mean, I have so many friends, and don't get me wrong, I love supercars, I love exotic cars, it's so cool, but how often do you get to utilize 500 horsepower or more, right? Like, sure, this is 200 horsepower, which I definitely think is underrated. I think this is... I think this puts out probably closer to like 220, 230, maybe even a little bit more. Like, this is underrated. I know that it is, for sure, in the horsepower and the torque. And so you just get to wring it out all the time. I mean, revving this thing up to 6,500 RPMs is a joy. Like, it's so great. Let's do it again. Meanwhile, I'm getting 32 miles to the gallon, like daily driving, that's commuting, that's going around town, to the running errands, dropping kids off at school, picking them up, like all like the regular stuff that you'd be doing. And you're spending your time in some of the best seats I've ever sat in, hands down, period. Like, at any price point, these are phenomenal. I've loved them. Here, it's downshift again, auto rev match. Ooh. Ooh, yeah. That torque. There's not much there, but it's plenty to have fun with. This reminds me a lot of my old 2011 Subaru WRX in some ways, which is going to surprise some of you, but It's like a less powerful version of that. Anyway, back to my GR86 and BRZ thought. I'm all over the place because this thing is just so fun. Here, let's do this. Wait for this car. Okay, I'm waiting here at a stop sign. So I've outgrown the GR86 and BRZ, not because I put on weight, but I have. Unfortunately, I'll take care of it. But here we go. Watch. Woo. Whee! Oh, yeah. Ooh, I hung on to that a little too long. Anyway, if you've outgrown the GR86 and the BRZ with your kids, which is something that I've done, I've got an almost 7 and an almost 4-year-old, and yeah, one of their birthdays is right before Christmas, and my daughter's birthday is right after Christmas. So December and January, really fun. But anyway, if you've outgrown those, this is such a solid alternative. No, it's not rear-wheel drive, it's front-wheel drive, and you do have some of those dynamics, which some people love. I don't love it. I mean, some people don't like, some people do love. I really don't mind it in here. Like, of course, would I rather this be all-wheel drive? Probably. Would I rather that this, maybe have a rear-wheel drive? They've never made a rear-wheel drive Civic. That's never going to happen. But if you can't get a GR86 or a BRZ, you can actually save some money and get one of these bad boys and have tons of room in the back for your kids, have lots of space, amazing seats, excellent fuel economy, one of the best 6-speed manual transmissions still on the market. I think this transmission, is just as good as the one in the GR86, maybe even a little bit better in some ways. Either way, it's excellent, and you could just spend all day shifting in this thing and be very, very happy, which I'm going to do again right now. And you get auto rev match, which I know some people don't like, but I've really enjoyed it here. It's just so cool. Like, it makes you feel like a rock star. And I admit, I'm maybe not the best driver. Like, well, I don't know. I think I'm a good driver, but I'm not like a race car driver. I don't track my cars. I just don't really have time. I wish that I did have more time, but then I don't know if I really have the budget either. But anyway, the auto rev match feature is very cool. Okay, let me speak for just a second about how this kind of contributes to Honda's legacy. And there's something interesting going on with Honda right now, and it's very exciting. I feel like in a lot of ways they're starting to find themselves again, which is something that I feel like they kind of lost for a little while. I've had a number of 90s and early 2000s Acuras and Hondas, which I mentioned in my other Honda Civic review. I had a 2000 EM1 Civic Si, and I had a 1982 Aztec Green Pearl Acura Integra GSR, which was incredible. Had that amazing B17 VTEC engine. And I had a 91 Acura Legend, when I first bought it, only had, I think, 11,000 miles. And so it's the famous stolen Legend, if you've heard of that. That was mine. I've actually owned it twice now. And so, needless to say, the Honda and Acura stuff is deep in my blood. In fact, one of my first cars ever was a 1988 Honda Civic LX. It was maroon and had a maroon interior. And it was the 5-speed manual transmission, and that thing was so much fun. No airbags, nothing, had AC, thankfully. And that was one of the cars that just had me falling in love with cars, because it was a Civic and it wasn't very fast, but it was just a joy to drive. So much fun. I feel like this is getting back to recapturing that early, that is so cool. Recapturing that 90s and early 2000s Honda feel, which is such a good thing because they've got something special. And it's cool to see them kind of coming back to that. I can't wait to see how the Civic Type R is. And because this Honda Civic Si is so much better than what people, than maybe people's perception. It's just a Civic Si. It's not the Type R. It's still 29 grand. It doesn't even have heated seats. It's fine. They're cloth. They're not going to get that cold, right? And I think that if you buy this with the idea that maybe it's not a purebred sports car, but you buy it as a fun, legitimately very fun commuter that's going to have great space. It's very practical, excellent seats, comfortable, good gas mileage, good reliability, wireless Apple CarPlay, and like lots of like nice safety tech and stuff, you're gonna be thrilled. For 29 grand, the average new car price right now is just over $48,000. And for this being 29 grand, this is a heck of a lot of fun car for 29 grand. And so, excellent buy. So as you can tell, the exterior of the Honda Civic Si, it's cool. It's a dressed up Civic for sure. It's a little more aggressive, has more black, has some interesting patterns in the grille and your SI badges. Your LED lights are amazing. The daytime running lights are incredible. You also get these blacked out wheels, which I think look really clean. I know some people are like, black wheels, but especially here if the burnt orange color, it looks awesome. You've got that black spoiler, your dual rear exit exhaust, and Honda's just done such a great job at making something that, this isn't a small car, but it's also not large. And look at that color in the sun. Wow. It's well sized. I wish you could get the SI in the hatchback, but I think that's obviously what the Type R is for. Can't wait to see how that thing is, considering how this is just so good. I love it. Great job, Honda. So coming into the interior of the 2022 Honda Civic Si, you're greeted by some very nice materials. I really love this red that they've done in here with this piano black, and this doesn't scratch as easily as some piano black that I've seen. One thing to note about this fabric here is you can probably tell that over time with your arm rubbing on it, you're probably going to get some of your skin flakes. It's kind of gross, but it's just going to get dirty. So you probably want to make sure that you're keeping that clean so you don't gross out your passenger. But looking at the rest of the Honda Civic Si interior, it's a really cool place. And I have to say, as you can probably tell, the standout are these seats. Yes, they look cool. I love the fabric. I think it looks and feels really nice. Great materials. It keeps cool. It's 106 degrees today in Salt Lake City, and I've really enjoyed spending my time in these seats, even with it being so hot. And I have to say that they are some of the most comfortable seats I've ever sat in. Like, I'm not kidding. These are incredible. I am in love with the BRZ and the GR86 seats, but these I think are even better. They're a little bit more supportive, even a little bit softer, and they're manually adjustable, so no power adjustments, which you might think, what the, why am I spending almost 30 grand for no power adjustments? But let me tell you, you don't need them in this car. They're exceptional. They really don't need that much adjustment to be very, very comfortable. And I think whoever rides in this, I had my dad in here who's a larger guy, and even he thought they were very comfortable. So well done, Honda. You've nailed the seats. I'm gonna sorely miss them because they are some of the best I've ever been in any price point. Starting it up, you push in the clutch, press the button, and you've got your half digital, half analog display. It's very cool. Gauges look sharp and clean, and I really like the design. As with the other Honda Civics, this also sports their amazing honeycomb dash. This is one of the most beautiful, simple, clean designs on a dash I've seen in a long time. Seriously, at any price point. I love it in here. It's so nice to spend time in here. Everything is perfect. The ergonomics are perfect, where the armrests are perfect, where the shifter is perfect, the buttons. Like, Honda, I know I said this in my other review, but Honda has nailed it. This is an extremely nice and comfortable place to be, and I think that they've just done such a good job with this new generation of Civic. And speaking of the infotainment here, this is a nice 9-inch color display with a backup camera, as I'll show you right now. And the camera looks good. It's slightly fuzzy, but you know, not bad. You do have your different views down here. And people can kind of complain about Honda's infotainment, but you know, I think most of us probably use our Apple CarPlay or Android Auto anyway, which is wireless in here, which is very nice. And it's very responsive. I can't complain. The Bose stereo sounds good. And you see Bose speakers over there and all around the cabin. And you also have like this nice little cubby that fits your phone. It fits an iPhone 13 Pro very nicely. You have your different drive modes, and if you switch between those, there's your normal, there's your sport, which I definitely recommend. The sport kind of sharpens things up, and I think it pipes in a little extra engine noise or fake engine noise, but either way, it sounds pretty cool. And your individual settings, you can go in here and change the steering and the engine or the throttle response. I usually just keep it in sport. And I will say that the steering feels very heavy in sport, but it's kind of fun. I really like it. Overall, this interior is killer. So coming into the rear of the 2022 Honda Civic, I said this in my other Civic review, but holy smokes, there's so much room back here. I mean, just look at it. It really kind of renders the Accord obsolete, because here I am, 5'9", sitting behind myself, and you can see that I have like a ton of room. That's like 9 inches, 10 inches, maybe even more. And I can just lounge out. It doesn't have rear seat AC vents, which I'm bummed to see, because having kids back here, they obviously fit fine. Here's my daughter's child seat, and there's lots of room there for her little legs. But I do wish on these hot days, especially where it's like 106 degrees here, that it had some rear AC vents, and no charging ports either. It's pretty Spartan back here, pretty plain. But regardless, this back seat's very comfortable. You are only stuck with this black material. There's no red inserts to be found, which is kind of a bummer. And you do have the center folding armrest with some cup holders, so that's a nice touch. But overall, it's pretty bare bones back here, but that's okay, I think, for most customers. Here's just a better view of the dash from the back seat. And as you can tell, it's clean, it's cool. My only complaints are, again, are the material on the armrests just get dirty. And that's really about it. The shifter, I thought it would get hotter in the sun. Don't get me wrong, it does get warm, but it didn't burn my hand quite as much as I thought that it would. It's kind of weird to have an electronic parking brake in a Honda Civic Si. I kind of wish it was still just a manual parking brake, e-brake, but that's okay. But again, you can just see how elegant and beautiful that dash is, and again, I just love it. Honda's just doing such a good job with all their stuff right now. And then, of course, to check out the back here, tons of cargo space. The trunk is enormous. I just am so impressed. I just don't get it how Honda's engineers have, this car isn't small, but it's also not really big. Like, it's still pretty compact, and there's so much room inside for adults, even larger adults, kids, cargo space, and I love it. I apologize for doing this in a parking lot. I just had a doctor's appointment and I just needed to find some shade because it's so hot here. But anyway, I think it just looks awesome. All right, let's take this out. Let me give you some of my final impressions here. So, let's do it again. Woo! No, this doesn't make as much power as something like the WRX. The GTI, I think, definitely makes some more power. The Elantra N obviously makes a lot more power. So definitely, if you want more power, then, go for it. My camera is not liking this heat, so if I have to keep tapping the screen, you'll know why. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that for the money you save with this, I don't think that you're going to be missing out on spending more for just a little bit more power with those other cars. Honda, you really can't discount how much that they've improved and really refined the chassis and the driving dynamics in this Civic. And you're also getting something that's just very clean and simple in its design. You get an excellent visibility. This front windshield especially is just so large and rectangular. It's just, honestly, it's positively lovely to look through. These seats are fantastic. Sure, it's not all-wheel drive, but I think it's been well proven at this point that snow tires, if you're worried about that, or winter tires, I guess I should say, end up making the biggest difference anyway, compared with all-wheel drive vehicles. So I guess what I'm getting to is that Honda's killed it, and I hope that they sell a lot of these, and I hope you enjoy this superb manual transmission as much as I have, because they've really done a good job. Here we go. We're going to go up another downshift, the auto rev match. Let's give it some beans here. That is so, it really handles well, guys. I mean, oh, it's so fun. You can start, it's like the tires are the weakness. If you put some like legitimate summer tires on this, which I think is an option, a pretty inexpensive option is that, you're gonna be very happy, because That's the only time it starts to like maybe lose a little confidence, is when you're really under hard acceleration under some corners, around some corners, and you can, like as the car starts to kind of rear up on its haunches, you can feel like the traction being lost, which is kind of hilarious. It's kind of fun, actually. So another thing to note too, I know I've already mentioned the fuel economy, but I mean, I haven't been taking it easy on this thing. I mean, even on the freeway, I'm constantly just downshifting and accelerating, just kind of for fun, to hear the sound and to shift this amazing transmission. And I'm still getting like 32 miles to the gallon, which I think the city rating was 27, and I think the highway rating was like 35 or 37. And so, you know, for a combined 32, that's pretty fantastic. And this little 1.5 liter is small, but it's definitely mighty. Another little acceleration here. You can have so much fun without getting into trouble. Anyway, guys, that's about going to wrap up my thoughts. I could go on forever with how much I've loved this car. I think it's definitely underrated in the segment. And sure, could it be like two grand less expensive? Yes, but for what it is, especially in today's market where everything is so expensive, this is a great car. Guys, thanks as always for watching, liking, commenting, and especially subscribing. I definitely want to grow this channel, so your subscription really, really does mean a lot to me. And I'm trying to make these the best I can for people that are just looking to buy. I hope this helps. And if you've bought a Civic Si, let us know in the comments why. If you haven't, or you passed on one for something else, let us know in the comments why. Let's help each other out. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day. See ya.